Welcome, everyone. My name is Michelle Smirnova. I'm an associate professor of sociology at UMKC. I'm joined today by Karemah Hazziez, who is a sociology major at UMKC. We are going to talk today about UMKC and the sociology department to give you a sense for who we are and what we're doing. So we wanted to start off by asking Karemah to tell you a little bit about why she chose UMKC and sociology as a major, if that would be particularly interesting to any of you.
Hello, my name is Karemah Hazziez, and I declared a sociology major at UMKC a few months after I transferred here in 2020. I am planning to graduate this upcoming May with a BA in sociology as well as a minor in anthropology. I transferred to UMKC when I was a sophomore, but I've always lived in Kansas City. Majoring in sociology was something I decided on after changing my major a few times. I originally wanted to go to school to become a physician's assistant, but while taking sociology classes as general electives, I realized that I love learning about sociology and anthropology way more than chemistry and biology. So I decided to change my major one last time. In these classes, I learned about people and their environments, which I found more interesting than learning about people from a medical perspective. One of my favorite assignments from the past was when I did research on a truth divide in Kansas City. With my career goals is to open a nonprofit organization that's based in Kansas City. So taking classes like urban anthropology is really beneficial because you learn about the city that you're studying in and how you can apply what you learn to that specific area, and you don't have to really transfer it out to take your knowledge elsewhere. Why did you come to UMKC, Professor Smirnova?
Wow, that is super interesting. Thank you for sharing your journey here to sociology and UMKC. I have a very similar one in that I studied lots of different things as an undergrad. I was, I think, a history major and a psychology major and did painting. And I think sociology really draws people from all these disciplines and people from this interdisciplinary perspective because it really takes into account all of these different disciplines. So I was similar in my academic journey to sociology in particular. In terms of UMKC, I was really drawn to the university because I wanted to live and work in a diverse and urban environment. UMKC is uniquely located in the heart of Kansas City, and it benefits from all of the people and communities that live here. And sort of these cultural and art-based institutions and organizations in the city, I think, draw lots of people, even from out of state, to KC because there's so much going on. It's so vibrant and stimulating. So I grew up outside of Boston, Massachusetts. I've lived in other cities, including St. Louis, Washington, D.C., Oakland, California. And so for all those reasons, I was really drawn to an urban environment where the university is engaged in those city dynamics. And I think UMKC does a really great job of that. We provide this campus experience, but also are really engaged with the issues and concerns of the broader Kansas City community. So I think sociology as a discipline offers us a way to address structural and systemic issues that occur at a national level, but also a local city level. So that was something that was really important to me in choosing a university, as well as what drew me to sociology in particular.
I completely agree, and that's something to my friends and family when having conversations about my major. What attracts me the most to sociology is the diversity within the field. In my classes, none of the topics are ever the same, so I find it fascinating that I can use what I learned to do so much. I have a sense for what sociology is about based on my classes, but could you explain it to me a bit more? How would I better explain sociology to my friends?
I feel you. I feel like I often struggle to explain it as well because it's so many different things. And you're not alone. I think most people haven't even heard of sociology before taking a class. What I often tell my students, and something that I love about sociology, also hate about it, is that once you learn to think and see sociologically, you can never unsee it, for better or for worse. You have that critical eye and that critical lens. So what sociology is the study of people and societies with a particular focus on structures, institutions, and the reproduction of stratification. Stratification is a fancy word for inequality. So as you can imagine, it's very interdisciplinary. We draw from history and psychology and international relations, anthropology, but we are studying things from a different perspective. So historians might try and make sense of human behavior in the context of historical events and processes, whereas psychologists look at human behavior by looking at internal processes like brain activity. But sociologists are trying to understand human behavior by looking at how we are influenced by by institutions, discourses, and other people. So we're interested in issues of stratification along lines of race, ethnicity, class, gender, sexuality, and other identities, but particularly interested in how those identities themselves are products of society, how they are socially constructed. And so why some of those characteristics are given certain meaning or value, and what are the consequences of that meaning and value. So we study and teach a lot of different things from a lot of different angles, as you have experienced already at UMKC. But that's kind of a sense for what sociology is.
Thank you. That was very helpful. What type of things do you teach or study?
Well, currently I'm teaching the sociology of gender and body and society, which you are a student in. It's been such a joy having you a part of that group.
Thank you.
Yeah, other semesters I've taught intro to sociology, social theory, social movements, technology and society. Our department is made up of both sociologists and anthropologists, and we're a part of the School of Humanities and Social Sciences. But our faculty are truly outstanding. Some of our faculty receive the highest evaluations in the university, in part because we just care so much about quality education and building relationships with our students. That's why most of us are here. In terms of my research, I just finished a book called The Prescription to Prison Pipeline, the Medicalization and Criminalization of Pain. So the book is about the increasing medicalization of our society, which means that experiences that were previously not controlled by medicine now are, but also how things that were previously not controlled by criminal institutions, penal institutions, have become increasingly criminalized, and who that disproportionately impacts, oftentimes already marginalized communities, like poor people, people of color. So an example I like to offer of the medicalization process, because people often say, well, what is that? Is of ADHD, the diagnosis, which is increasingly common. And there are a lot of people who benefit from having that diagnosis, access to treatment, accommodations, medication. But there are other people who suffer from the medicine, and that sociologists are interested in what is causing this increase in ADHD. Is it something genetic or biological, or is it also produced by our structure? Is it the structure of our classroom, the structure of our work setting, of our schools, that students are forced to sit for long periods of time and just consume information, perform on standardized tests? And so potentially the solution is not medicine, but it's about restructuring our classroom settings or our work settings or our work-life balance settings. So lots of different things. So that's what I mean when I say sociologists are interested in structure and policies and practices. Those are kind of the questions that we ask, and something that we studied in our class, Body and Society. We explore how medicine influences our lives, shaping what it means to be human, what is perceived to be deviant and sick or healthy and normal, and how that impacts our lives in different ways.